Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, 6-time world heavyweight champion, 2-time Hall of Famer. Got my man Brad Gilmore here with me. They call him the boat. And man, today we got a whole lot to talk about, a whole lot to catch up on. But man, how's your week going, man? How's your week starting off?
You know what? I've been very restful today on Martin Luther King Day, just enjoying the holiday and sitting back, getting a lot of the honeydews done, right? Getting the honeydews done. It's always nice to have a little day off like that. So I've enjoyed it, Book. It's really been a productive weekend for me. What about you?
Yeah, man. I've been Mr. Fix It around the house, making sure I take care. You know, right now in this pandemic era, man, you could save a lot of money and get some stuff done. You know, because right now I'm just sitting around the house, twiddling my thumbs. So I got some bad wood out on my deck, and I was like, man, I need to change this wood out. Should I call somebody or should I do it myself? So I was like, man, I started ripping it off, and then I said, man, I think I can get this job done. I started thinking MacGyver-like, you know what I mean? I started thinking, how can I fix that? Because I don't know what I'm doing, but I got to figure it out. I'm just like on the job training. And but man, 2 days later, I pretty much secured, the full portion of one part of my deck. And it looks almost brand new with brand new wood on that. And the thing is, that deck been there for 15 years. So that wood's been on there for 15 years. So now this one portion got all new wood on it. So it's good for another 15 years.
There you go.
You know,
saved you some money.
Hopefully I don't, I will have to stay here for another 15 years. I can move into another, mansion. You know what I mean? That's the game plan, to move into another mansion one of these days, man. But
one mansion isn't enough. You know what I mean? When who has it all?
Sell it, get another one. You know what I mean? Life's short, bro. Why just live in one spot? Why not enjoy, every little bit that you possibly can? Why not?
No, I'm with you. Where would be, if you couldn't live in H-Town, if you couldn't live in Houston, I might know the answer to this, but maybe I don't. Where would be the one, city in the continental United States you'd like to live in? Is it L.A.?
L.A. is cool, man. I mean, I would love to live in L.A., but L.A. is a city that you just want to visit. You know what I mean?
I hear you on that.
Because if you go all the time, if you there all the time, it would take the fun out of it. It would become normal. It wouldn't be as nice as it is if you're just coming in and leaving and going out. But my thing is, man, I've been checking out Austin, man. Austin got a nice scenery, nice feel. It's not so flat like it is here in Houston. You got a lot of hilly spots. You could be up on top of, a nice hill looking down over, certain parts of the city. So I'm like, I'm thinking like that. Right. I don't want to just, uproot the kids or anything like that. But I'm definitely thinking, moving on a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. You never know.
Hey man, yeah, most definitely. Hey man, but we're gonna need everybody out there, wherever you guys chatting from. Let us know where you're chatting from. But we're gonna need everybody out there to weigh in on this conversation today, man, because we got a couple of wrestling newsworthy stories that came in that I really want to talk about, and I want to weigh in on, because I feel like I'm the aficionado as far as it comes to when it's something to do about wrestling, because I speak it like I preach it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell it like it is, no matter what. That's just the way I am. And a couple of stories, like I say, came across the ticker. Bubba Ray was talking about AEW, pretty much versus NXT, the Wednesday Night Wars, and how he thinks AEW is, missing a boat, maybe. Missing, certain moments, maybe the wrestling is not, up to par, compared to, NXT. And I want to talk about this. And I got the perfect person with yourself, Brad. But like I say, people out there that's listening to the show, let us know what you're thinking as far as this topic goes. But as far as AEW, NXT, what do you think, Brad? Do you think NXT is doing something better than AEW, because AEW numbers have been consistently better than NXT, but Bubba Ray thinks the opposite? What do you think?
Yeah, Bully's comments were interesting that he made over there on Busted Open. I think that he makes a good point though. I think from a he called their wrestling, he called AEW's wrestling indie-rific, I think was the word that he used or the term that he used. And I think to some degree there's truth to that, and here's why. When you start a new major league wrestling company, as AEW has now for the last year, where are you going to go to get the majority of your talent? You're going to go to the independent circuit. Well, the guys are on the independent circuit because they haven't been signed yet by a major company like a WWE or what have you, and they're still going to take over those traits, all the tools, like you say. They're taking the tools from their toolbox that they've been using in the independent world, and now they're putting them on national television. So one of my big complaints of AEW has been from an in-ring psychology standpoint. Sometimes it's not there, right? Unless one of these guys like a Cody Rhodes is in the ring, or a Jericho, or some of those guys, right? They have that psychology that I've grown accustomed to. Not everybody over there has it. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, I think AEW, from a presentation standpoint, from a old school wrestling feel, like you gotta watch it live, I think they're killing NXT in that regard. I do think NXT wrestling-wise, I think that they have the better roster of wrestlers, of guys who can go bell to bell, tell the story cohesively, beginning, middle, end, shine, hope, comeback, whatever, right? They have that, to me, at NXT. AEW sometimes leaves it a little bit to be desired, in my opinion.
Well, one can look at this in so many different ways. The way I look at it is, NXT, of course, these guys, they go out and they wrestle. They go out and they do the best they possibly can at, trying to, bring the realism into, the performance. But wrestling is so many different things. Wrestling is just, like I say, it's not MMA. It's not boxing. You know what I mean? It's not that form of contact sport. Professional wrestling has always been, entertainment based. And one thing that you could rest assured on is in AEW, every match is not going to look the same, because those guys are, a fluctuation of indie guys and more experienced guys.
Yeah.
More experienced guys like Moxley going to look totally different than some of the other guys. So I go back to TNA, in the six-sided ring. When in wrestling is, what I always say is, to be able to do the same thing everyone else is doing a little bit different. The six-sided ring was something different. That's what attracted you to Impact, TNA wrestling back in the day. Plus the young guys, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, those guys brought something to the table. AEW, they're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, but they're trying to make it look a little bit different. And I think, with the nucleus of wrestling that we have right now, that's very, very important to what you're trying to create and what you're trying to build. I always said, if TNA would have stuck to the six-sided ring and gave those young guys the ball and let them run, and they had some good guys in the production room writing, the show for these guys could have went out. I mean, TNA could be huge right now. You remember how popular TNA wrestling was on Spike TV?
Yeah.
Back then, they were doing 1-3s, 1-4s, 1-5s. So the thing is, I agree with Bubba Ray in a lot of aspects, but in this business, you got to be able to figure out how to do the same thing everyone else is doing a little bit different. And I think that's what AEW is doing.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about the difference of it. Now, from a presentation standpoint, I think I 1,000% agree with you when it comes to AEW. When you watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, it has a feel. Like, as soon as the opening scene happens, you're like, oh, this is a Tarantino. It's got the vibe around it. AEW's got that. As soon as it turns on, it has its own feel to it, which I think is really important. WWE, at times, can feel a little rehearsed and produced, a little too pretty. AEW's a little grittier, which gives it that different vibe, right? When you turn that channel, you're like, oh, that's not WWE. That doesn't look the same, right? And to your point about TNA and the six-sided ring, I do think, though, with Bubba's, I think his main criticism was some of the talent maybe on the lower end of the card, the opening matches or mid lower card, they don't have as many reps as the guys at the top, which leads to this discrepancy in ability inside the ring.
Can I retort to that right there?
You may. It's your show.
Can you go back and think about how crappy those wrestlers were in ECW and how popular? Wait a minute.
I agree with you though.
And how popular that show was. Those guys wasn't the greatest wrestlers in the world. I mean, come on, and they put on a great show, and that's my point right there. Why I totally disagree with someone like Bubba Ray coming from a place like ECW, where I thought Mike Awesome could actually work until I got in the ring with him. Okay, and I go, wait a minute, this guy can't work. You know what I mean? But Paul Heyman made those guys look like they knew what they were doing.
Agreed. I do agree with you on that too. I think that we're actually arguing the same side here a little bit. But in regards to the ECW of it all, Paul Heyman made it work because every single guy who was on the ECW roster, they felt special. They felt like a big deal. They felt like a star, and they knew how to go out there and entertain. I don't remember one spot the Sandman ever did, but I remember his entrance, right?
Yeah,
I remember the pageantry of of ECW. And I think that just for some of the lower tier guys in AEW, that's not all the way there for me. But they've only been a company for 12 months. They've done a really great job in these 12 months of building an audience, building a roster, keeping the attention of their audience, almost getting to that 1 million viewers a week, getting guys in there like Sting, Jericho, Moxley, the ones that you've named. Great job. Bring that other talent up, and then they're going to be a problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just wanted to throw that out there as far as, I see a lot of people agreeing with me as far as, my take on this. And the thing is, I'm just talking, logistics as far as, just say, for instance, what I do with Reality of Wrestling. There again, doing the same thing everyone else is doing from an independent standpoint. We're trying to do it a little bit different than everyone else is doing. Like Reality of Wrestling, we don't bring in, WCW guys. We don't bring in old WWE guys, TNA guys, or anything like that to fuel our ship. We got the youngest, roster in professional wrestling at Reality of Wrestling, and that's all by design. We have the youngest, referees. That's by design. We have the youngest announcers. That's by design. Other than myself, commentators. But all of that is by design to get people to look at Reality of Wrestling a little bit different than they watch any other independent wrestling show. The young person that's watching it and see our champion, he's at 20 years old, or see our female champion, at 18 years old, they say, man, I can do that. Man, that could be me right there. Like I say, it's hard to aspire to be the 16-time world champion Ric Flair, but to be there again, AQA, you can say, man, I could do that. So there again, to do the same thing that everyone else is doing a little bit different is very important. Guys, stick around. We got to take a break. What am I thinking? We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I got carried away right there, man. I'm serious, man. I mean, that time was just like flying by like crazy, man. But yeah, man. Back to the business at hand, and there again, everybody can look at that story there. That as far as Bubba Ray, AEW, NXT, they can look at that in so many different ways. But another story, man, is that's
well. Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing real quick about that? When was the last time you watched ECW? Like
ECW?
An ECW show. Yeah, an ECW show. When was the last time you watched?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So I I was perusing the network, I don't know, maybe a week ago, and I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but ECW was, at least the show I watched, it's kind of bad. like like the characters are good, right? But the show kind of is bad. Like, because I've always grown up remembering ECW. Oh man, those shows were so awesome. And you go back and you watch and you're like, I don't know. I think we might look back more fondly than what was presented.
What I remember is a lot of really, really great produced segments, edited and whatnot. Taken and cut, put together, and Paul Heyman was really, really good at there again. A lot of those matches were edited,
Yeah.
where they showed pretty much nothing but a lot of the highlights in a lot of those matches.
They're like little music videos.
Yeah, exactly. And then they had the music. They used original music as well, so that made you feel a certain way when it had a cult following behind it. And then when you look at the audience, it was 95% men, but they had something. They had something special. They had something that made you feel a vibe, like going to one of those hard rock concerts where you're in the mosh pit or something like that. So I understood everything that was going on with ECW. That's why, when I hear Bubba Ray make a comment like that, I say, man, you got to think about those guys that worked in ECW. They wasn't that great, but if you got the right production crew behind you, if you got the right minds behind you, man, it could really, really go a really long way if you do it right. That's just my opinion on that. But moving on, man. Moving on. This next story, man, we got to delve into it, man, because it's been getting hot. It's been getting heated all over the internet. Ryback is back in the news. Ryback made some comments. I was just reading a couple of days ago too, but I really didn't pay any mind to it because when I hear Ryback talking, sometimes I feel like, man, Ryback, I always thought he was a okay guy. I never had any problems with him, anything like that. When you leave a company, sometimes, especially after it's been your lifelong dream and things don't work out, you could be really bitter. You can say, man, I hate everybody. I want to break something. You know what I mean? So I really didn't think about it too much. But Ryback made a comment as far as wrestling being fake. The title, the championship is just a prop. Nobody ever wins it. Nobody ever loses it. And me personally, I take a little bit, offense to that because I know how much work I put in, but Mark Henry seemed to, really got heated about it and went in on Ryback really, really hard, almost to the point to where, man, he ready to fight. He's ready to throw hands. But I kind of understand where Mark Henry is coming from in one aspect, and in certain aspects, I got to question it a little bit. But as far as my take on this, wrestling being fake, that's just not a term real professional wrestlers use. Okay, we just don't use that term. We don't degrade the business that we've put so much time into. We just don't do that. People from the outside, that play wrestler, they may talk like that. But the guys that really put in time is never the word fake is not gonna come out of their mouth. Because every time I went to the ring, man, it was as real as it possibly could be, and then when a little kid asked me a question like that, when a little kid, say for instance, 10 years old, okay, and that's why I question someone like Ryback saying something like that. When a 10-year-old asks me the question, hey, Booker, is wrestling fake? I tell that 10-year-old kid, anything that put a roof over my son's head and food on my son's table and clothes on my son's back, it's as real as it possibly could be. And that kid eyes wake up and go, wow, because it puts it in a different term. You look at it from a different perspective. Anything that you do that you're taking care of your family, it's real. Anytime you go out there and that, you're doing something that you putting your life on the line, and one bump, it could be all over with. Look at Draws, a guy who's been in a wheelchair for many, many years, from going out there doing something that's fake. That's why saying something like that, that's something that he should apologize for, in my opinion. The title, I always said the title meant that you was the guy that was representing the company at that time. You were their champion. And when we go out and perform, we perform at the highest level. Wrestling is to be embellished, the spinneroonie, the people's elbow. It is to be embellished because it's professional wrestling.
Right.
When I hear someone say professional wrestling is fake, that's done it and made money from it, it pisses me off a little bit. And then, like I said, it ticked Mark Henry off. But when Ronda Rousey said it was fake, Mark Henry said it was the greatest thing in the world. It was the biggest ploy that someone could ever do. I think JBL even chimed in on it and said it was a great move. Why is it okay when Ronda Rousey said, but not Ryback?
Yeah.
So I say in that situation right there, you got to be consistent as far as that term being thrown around by anyone who have made money doing what we do. There again, people can say they love this business, but I love this business, and I'm never going to degrade it. The business. If you got an issue with a certain individual, you talk about that certain individual.
Right.
Don't try to throw the business under the bus just because you got a gripe with a certain individual or certain individuals. Point taken.
I think that you make a fantastic point, and I bet you Ryback wouldn't say that if he won the title. If they had put the title on him, man, I'm the world champion. What are you talking about? It's as real as it possibly can be. I like Ryback. I don't keep up on his shows or anything like that. But when he was in the WWE, I enjoyed him as a character and a personality and a performer. But I think that anybody, like you said, who uses the F word, it's disrespectful to all those who came before and all those who have suffered injuries, bruised, battered, torn, and some lost their lives for this industry. So you got to put that in perspective.
Yeah, we got to take a break, guys. Like I said, we're going to take a couple of comments on that on the back end here in a second. Stick around. Back in a minute.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Booker T, 6-time world champ, 2-time Hall of Famer, and this is for all up-and-coming professional wrestlers, male and female. You want to know the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts. You got a question, I got the answer. If you want to know how, join my masterclass. Go to realityofwrestling.com for all the information. Starting on Thursday and every Thursday after that, guys. Don't miss out. Don't get shut out. And I know you can dig that.
The Academy.
Shoop! Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, y'all. I know it's going to be all over the internet.
Yeah.
But I'm just speaking the truth, man. I'm just speaking the truth as far as, you can leave a company. It's just like, for instance, when I first left WWE, I never went to a WWE show when they came to town. I never went to an event after I left. And I remember when I came back and Michael Cole, he asked me, he said, but why didn't you ever come to any of the shows when you left? And I go, man, I don't work there anymore. It's like, do you go and visit, Whataburger, just because of, just say, for instance, the warehouse I used to work at. Do I go visit the warehouse?
Right.
I mean, it was a job. You know, and I think
You don't go check up on your ex-wife too much, do you?
nah, heck
You know
no.
what I mean? It's like, yeah, same
No,
thing.
no, but it's a job, man. It's a job,
Right.
and I think sometimes with this business, um, you could definitely get into it, and you could start looking at it from a different perspective. Like it's not your 9 to 5. It's not what you do to to make a living. I remember a guy told me, I'm not going to say his name or anything like that, but he had lost his job at WWE, and I say, hey man, what you gonna do now, man? He goes, I guess I'm just gonna be a regular person. And I go, wow, what am I? No, I'm serious. No, I'm dead serious because I look at myself like a regular person. I don't look at
Right.
myself like, I tell people all the time, when get in this business, you're going to get a lot of praise. People are going to, praise you and look up to you. And I say, but when you get to the point where you wake up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror and wink, you got a problem. Okay. You need to dial it back a little bit. This business has been nothing for me other than a job. And I've always tried to figure out how to parlay it into what's next, because when it's going to be over with one day, sooner or later. That's just the way life is. So you got to be prepared. At least you're trying to prepare for what's next. And if you're just thinking about living life in the past, as far as what didn't happen for you then, it's got to be so hard to move on to the future. That's just my opinion. That's just my take on that. But for me to think about WWE when I didn't work there anymore, I don't know the issues of Ryback or anything like that as far as legal, what he's gone through, what has been, his story, in the company or anything. Like, everybody's story is different. One person say, man, I hate that guy, and the next person say, man, that guy's all right. You know what I mean? So everybody, looks at this thing from totally different perspectives. But there again, when you look at it as anything other than a job, that's when I think things could get a little bit gray, and that's when it become a problem.
Well, I think that also sometimes when you hear guys, and I'm not talking about Ryback specifically, I'm just talking about in general, when guys leave, a lot of the times when they do either their own podcast or they go out and they do interviews, there seems to be a real sense of entitlement that comes from some of them, right? I should have been given this, or I deserve this. I deserved, whatever it is, the main event of WrestleMania, or I deserve the world title, or I deserve this, that, and the other. And it comes across, it's, we as fans, we hear that and it's like, oh, that guy kind of sounds bitter. And to me, we had someone in the chat that I really like to highlight. Lindsay Whitney says you should never knock the hand that fed you or fed your family. And I'm big on that. I understand if you have issues with somebody or you had issues with the company or what have you, but when you leave there, you remember the best and you forget the rest, right? And you say, man, I'm so thankful that I had that 4 years. I had that 7 years. Man, I was under contract with the largest wrestling company in the world for a decade, and I got paid to travel the world and be on television on a weekly basis. That is a gift that there are so many, hundreds and hundreds of guys, Booker. We've seen them over the 8 years I've been in reality wrestling. Reality wrestling's been around for 15 years. Guys coming in and out, just trying to get a look, trying to get a shot, trying to make it. And you are one of those few. You're one of the selected, chosen ones. And, when I hear that, it sounds entitled and it sounds bitter and ungrateful. And I just don't like that negativity. I get if you have problems. I get it. And like you said, everyone has their own issues with whatever happened on their way out or whatever. But what does that do for you? Like, let me ask you this. What is Ryback saying wrestling is fake? What does that do? What does that do for the industry? What does that do for his show? Because guess what? The majority of people who are listening to Ryback, they're not sports car enthusiasts. They're not checking up on the latest tennis rankings. They're wrestling fans. So you're almost insulting your own audience, the people who have created everything that you have. And obviously Ryback has done it on his own. True, I'm not trying to take anything away from his own personal success, but the reason why you have the platform you have today is because wrestling fans they like you. They were a fan of Ryback. And I just don't know why you turn around and slap them in the face and be like, oh, all that stuff that you like is silly and stupid. I don't get that. I don't understand that at all.
Well, I mean, this is not the first time I've said something about this as far as, the wrestling business. It's kind of like Hollywood. Sometimes the best actors get the leading role, but then sometimes you might get a guy that get the leading role, like say for instance Jim Brown. You know what I mean? Because you go, well, how the hell he get the leading role? It's Jim Brown. That's why. No, I'm serious.
No, you're right, 100%.
No, I'm dead serious. So some people feel like, they should have got there, they should have did this, or they should have been champion, whatnot. I always felt like the wrestling business there again was like Hollywood. I got my script, and I went out and I played my role. I tried to play that role to the best of my ability. So the director look at me and say, man, maybe we need to give him a bigger role in the next movie, and then I started trying to work my way up through, the channels like that. But I always, relied on, my talent, and my talent alone was, go out and perform, and hopefully someone to see it and say, man, let's get this guy a better role, the television champion. Man, okay, man, I take the television championship. That's cool. They gave me a better role right there. And then they said, man, this kid is killing it, man. Let's give him a better role, man. The U.S. championship. Boom. That's the way I've always looked at the wrestling business. And I guess that's why I've never played politics. I've never gone to the office and said, hey, how about we do this or we do that? I've never once can anyone say Booker T has ever politic for an angle or something like that. Just because that wasn't my job. That was just taking up too much, space in my head, thinking about something that I totally didn't need to be thinking about. So you do your job. You write the script, you give it to me, and I'll try to enhance it and make it better than you ever could have, written this thing out for me. So that's the way I've always looked at it. And there again, guys can, look at this thing, man, and hold on to it, and sometimes think it's theirs. Think, they literally think they have a little bit of ownership, in the WWE or WCW, or just say for instance Impact or AEW. But I stress to the young guys that's getting into the business, like to there again, look at this thing like Hollywood, and WWE is like Warner Brothers or something like that, and when you coming in, you're auditioning for a role.
Yep.
And hopefully, you can, parlay your skills to the next level. And, one day you become that leading actor that, and that's the thing. And I'm just saying that because so many people can look at it like it's theirs. For me, I say, for those people that think that way, create your own reality of wrestling.
There you go. Then you could actually have ownership stake, right?
Then you can do it however you want to do it. But until you do something like that, try to get the best roles that you can get at that time.
Yeah, and I think Steve Austin, who we just had on the show last week, and to me, one of the biggest stars in the history of wrestling, I think it's safe to say. Before he wrestled his last match, he did this interview and for his documentary. He said, "Look, guys, it's pretty simple. I'm a part in a machine. Once I give out, once I rust out, they take that part out, they throw me into a pile of old parts, they put a new one in, and the machine keeps going." He said, no one's special. He said, not one guy is special.
Wow.
And for him to say that, who's probably at the highest of highs this industry's ever seen, it kind of puts it all in perspective for you.
Nah, man, that's a really, really good way of putting it right there. I don't think I've ever heard it, put that simple and that plain to make you understand what this thing really is and truly is all about. So guys, take that word of advice right there and run with it. Hopefully Ryback won't be making any more comments like that. Or maybe him and Mark Henry will be at WrestleMania coming up. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. Shup. Welcome back inside to Hall of Fame, y'all. Yeah, man. Yeah. We had a lot of other stuff went down over the weekend. We had some UFC go down. The playoffs, man. The playoffs are something special, man. And I tell you, man, Tom Brady, man, the guy is timeless, man. He's like one of those switch watches, man. The guy just keep time perfect. If this guy win it all, he is truly the greatest player to ever play the game. If he take Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl after getting traded, past that number, truly the greatest player to ever play the game. You know what? Even coming this far, even just taking Tampa Bay this far, I got to say, man, big ups, man. To see Drew Brees go out New Orleans, that was heartbreaking. But we had a whole lot going on this weekend. There again, UFC, Max Holloway, Cater. Man, what a fight, man! What a fight! News just breaking all. Did I hear Deshaun Watson was marching to the stadium today? What the hell is going on? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a weekend full of craziness that was happening all over the place, right? But I do want to touch on your comment about Tom Brady. I think that you're right. I think that him taking Tampa Bay as far as they have to another conference championship game, right? Tom Brady has now been to more NFC championship games since he started than the Dallas Cowboys have. Right? I mean, he's already been to more NFC games and NFC championship games, and I agree. I think that he's probably, not only when it comes to football, I think we have to talk about Tom Brady as one of the greatest team sports players of all time, right? Just across all sports. You got to throw him in that convo for his just continued dominance. He's got to be mentioned amongst the greatest of all time.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if it wasn't football, I'll be comparing him to James Harden.
What? Oh, because James Harden is one of the greatest offensive weapons in the history of
no, because he's a guy that's he's selfish. It's all about him.
Who? You're not talking about Tom.
No, I said if it wasn't football, I would be saying that. It being football, he's a guy that's got to deliver, and to not just one person. He's got to make sure everybody's got to be a nucleus. We got to win as a team. You know what I mean? That's how you win championships. That's how you get the rings. Unlike James Harden, like I said, if it was basketball, it would be different. You know what I mean? Then again, maybe not. Maybe I'll be comparing him to Jordan. You know what I mean? LeBron. You know what I mean? If it was basketball, let me re-up. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, he's a guy that his stats, man, and his numbers are over the top. You know what I mean? And the reason why his numbers and his stats are over the top is because of him. Everything is all predicated on him and what he goes out and do on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? Of course, the defense got to show up, but
right,
for him to go out and be able to do that at 43 years old.
Yep,
Pretty damn
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. What did you think? Did you catch any of James Harden's debut with the Brooklyn Nets at all? You
No,
get
I
to see
didn't.
the highlights.
No, I didn't catch any of it, but I was reading about it. And I saw some of the highlights. I saw Kevin Durant. He looked happy. You know what I mean?
He did.
I must say, Kevin Durant looked happy that James Harden was there. But those guys, they got history. They go back together. They maybe you know what? You know how I am, man. When like styles make fights, maybe
Right.
this is what James Harden needed. You know what I mean? Maybe he needs to go somewhere like Brooklyn. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, in New York, you can't walk down the street when you go out there and do something stupid. I mean,
That's true.
let him think about going to the strip club. Deja vu, they be waiting on him. Sue's rendezvous, man, they be all over him. Well, that's another story.
You're naming too many spots, but I do think what something you just said at the styles making fights. I think that him not being the number one guy on the team is actually going to be beneficial for him because Kevin Durant's the number one guy on the team. Kevin Durant's the number one guy wherever he goes, right? Kevin Durant, look, James Harden dropped 32, 14, and 12. Kevin Durant said, that's cute. I dropped 42 points, right? With you standing right there. So Kevin's the man. He's the man. And I think James as a solid number 2, maybe a 1B, I think that's a good situation for him.
Nah, man. Come on, man. Come on, dog. Come on.
What?
This is what I've been saying the whole time, isn't it?
I don't think that's what you've been saying the whole time.
Come on, man. I've been saying James Harden is not a leader. How many times have I said
You said he's not a leader.
So being number 1B, 2, what is that?
Right. No. I'm saying like on the court. I'm not talking about his leadership abilities. I'm talking about
1B or 2 on the court. You do the same thing in the locker room.
No, he's not the main option. He's not the main option on the offense. That's my
what
point.
I'm saying is
That's my point.
Well, do he got the C on his chest?
No.
On his jersey?
No.
That's what I'm talking about. When you get that right there, when you get that C on your jersey right there, that's what I'm talking about. That's what James Harden don't need. All right. He don't need that because he has, I'm not saying that, he can't be a leader or anything like that. He don't have leadership qualities. But I must say, in Houston, he really hadn't shown a whole lot of leadership. And I'm talking about leadership. I'm talking about being a general, going out there and making sure when your team going into battle, we have a plan. And our plan, when we have a plan, guys, we all have to execute. And that's something that I never saw from James Harden. Was he a great scorer? Yes. But guys like LeBron James, who come in the league, and down there in Cleveland, just suffering, going through so much pain. A great writer once said, LeBron James is going to be a great basketball player one day, but after he suffers more. I'm just playing. I just made that up.
Oh, okay. So a great writer said that?
But it sounds
pretty profound. It sounded profound.
Good. Sounded good, didn't it?
Sounded good. Well, one more thing before we move off of sports that aren't combat. Do the Texans deserve Deshaun Watson?
No.
I don't think that they do either.
No.
Like I wouldn't be mad if he left.
Well, I mean,
I don't want him to go, but I wouldn't be mad if he left.
I mean, I ain't finna, get political or anything like that. But the Texans, man, they gonna have to get out of that mentality where you just shut up and play. All right, the inmates running the asylum comments, stuff like that. I know who we are. We know we in Texas. But some of the stuff that this team, why do you think, guys are speaking up finally? Why do you think guys are finally saying, man, this is insane to have to, be a part of something like this? And for Deshaun Watson, a guy who has been put in a bad situation every year, to have gone out and performed the way he has been remarkable. It really has.
Absolutely.
No, and now the thing is, it shows. I'm gonna tell you, it shows how good of a player he really is. All right, because we've had the Vince Youngs of the world that's come through this business that we thought were really good and didn't pan out. And then we see a guy like Deshaun Watson that's got all the skills to be one of the greats if he's put in a certain situation. And we refuse to do that. Get rid of our best receiver, probably perhaps the best receiver in the league. How do you do something like that? Now the situation is totally different. Being a young guy wants some, your little piece of the pie. And that's, like Floyd Mayweather, did in the beginning of his career. Say, man, look, Bob Arum, you could take all that. I'm going to start my own thing. I'm going to show you I could do this. I'm smart enough to do it. Deshaun Watson is starting young, but more importantly, Deshaun Watson go out on the field and show I got talent. Okay, I can do this. Put me in a good situation, and see what I do. So my thing is this, man. Mess with that dude if you want to. He got a contract where you can't cut him. You know what I mean? Get me my $152 million and get it quick. You know what I mean? Because I'm ready to go to Sue's rendezvous.
He's ready to blow it all. Blow it all. Put somebody through college. Put the whole club through college. Yeah, I agree. We don't deserve him. We don't deserve him. We don't deserve Watt. We didn't deserve Hopkins. It's just poor management. Poor. We just talked about leadership. Poor leadership.
I look at Watt's career here, man. I compare him to, Earl Campbell.
Yeah, Hall of Famer, but never going to win anything.
Guy who just, broke himself down, man. Beat himself. Bruised, battered, and torn. Surgeries. No matter what, going out there playing in the trenches on a weekly. And he ain't gonna get nothing for it but a lot of praise. So it's been a lot of guys like that. Should he have been one of them? I don't think so. JJ Watt, the SWAT. Guys, we got to go to break. Stick around. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, y'all. We just rolling right now, having some fun. See, we got a super chat. Brad, you wanna?
Yeah, I'm trying to highlight it now. There it is. From CB3 Amazing. Hey, Book, Shup. How would you like to see a dream match between John Cena and the Velveteen Dream? Cena once said that he would like to fight him. I haven't seen old Velveteen in a while.
Velveteen cooled off. had a couple of internet
incidents,
rumors, incidents,
allegedly,
whatever you want to call them, and definitely cooled him off a little bit. And that's what I say, man. I'm so glad I didn't have social media back in the day where I could find myself in some stupid trouble. But John Cena versus Velveteen Dream match. Is that a dream match? That's the question for me. Is that truly a dream match? Has Velveteen Dream put himself in position to where we would actually call that a dream match? What has Velveteen Dream done in this business to be in a match with John Cena where people really want to invest in seeing a match like that? Me personally, I don't think that's a dream match.
I don't either.
It may be a match that
it may be his dream match.
Yeah, it may.
CB3 Amazing.
Yeah, but for
I don't
me,
think
I don't think Velveteen Dream has has done nowhere near enough to, warrant being in the center of the ring with someone like John Cena at this stage of his career. You know, right now, he's working on that ravishing Rick Rude thing, and I'm gonna tell you right now, we know how good Rick Rude was. When he carried that banner of going out there with the tights and whatnot, shaking the hips and making the girls go wow. We knew it's high. I mean, but I'm gonna tell you right now, Rick Rude, oh man. You know what I mean? You knew that was a man when he walked out the curtain. Velveteen Dream taking nothing away from him, but he's got a long way to go before he can step in those shoes. And I'm going to tell you right now, he's one of my kids. Patrick Clark, tough enough. I groomed him. When he comes to town, he calls me, Coach, I need you to come down here and check me out. I think he would let you know that he's got a long way to go before he can get to that point.
Man, you bring up Rick Rude, and just to ask you real quick, there was a social media thing going on the other day of who was the greatest, and WWE on Fox's Twitter account was tweeting it out. Who was the greatest?
Ryan Satin didn't do it, did he?
It wasn't Ryan Satin, so this is actually good.
I can tell I'm whooping his ass.
I know you are. Shout out to Ryan. But it was who's the greatest WWE star to never win the world title? And I want to ask that question to you. Some of them that were being thrown around was Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake. I think all great candidates. Is there anybody that comes to your mind outside of those four, or would you say those four are probably the names that you would go with?
No, I mean, just speaking on Ryback's point, Jake the Snake never won the world championship. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, never won the world heavyweight championship. So there again, this thing it proves my point. I think more so than anything. And then you got a guy like Jake would tell you, man, I never needed the title.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, would he have made more money with it? Perhaps. But would it have been a liability for the company to put the title on him?
Well, back then, perhaps.
And that's what you got to look at sometimes.
Yeah.
That's what you got to look at sometimes.
Another guy never won the world title. They just said in the chat, Razor Ramon. Scott Hall was never a world champion. Can you believe that? Scott Hall was never a world champion. That sounds crazy to me. Kev was.
Junkyard Dog.
Junkyard Dog's another good one. Yeah. I mean, some of these names that were, and to think that Roddy Piper was never the world champion. I mean, that company, in large part, we talk about Hogan, WWE was built around really the heel of Roddy Piper there in the mid-'80s, right? I mean, you wouldn't have had a WrestleMania 1 without Roddy Piper being the antagonist that he was. And then doing the rematch with Mr. T the next year in the boxing match. Which, by the way, next year, Book, we're going to live it up. Dallas, Texas, WrestleMania 38, I think it is. WrestleMania 38 next year. D-Town, back 6 years after they broke the record of 101,000. It's going to be good.
I might be there.
And then what are you? I'm assuming you're going to be in Tampa this year, right?
I might.
Okay.
I might be there. Yeah.
I love how ambiguous you're being. But anyway, okay. Well, what do you want to talk about, Booker T?
Hey, man.
Since I just throw a couple things out there and you're like, yeah, maybe. Sure. I guess.
Hey, man, I don't like to speak too soon, man. I don't like to speak too soon and, say I'm going to be somewhere before I'm not.
Before you're booked. I'm not booked, Terry.
No, kind of like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor right now is talking about somewhere, he should be before, it's time to even talk about that. You know what I mean? Conor McGregor got a huge fight in front of him coming up against Dustin Poirier, a fight that he could easily lose at 155 pounds because Dustin Poirier has looked the best he has looked since coming into the UFC, in my opinion, especially coming off of his last two fights. Beating Dan Hooker the way he beat him was perhaps the fight of the year already.
It was great.
Perhaps the fight of the year already. And don't think he's going to get less than that same man that fought in that fight. But right now, he's already talking about Khabib before he stepped into the octagon against this man, Dustin Poirier. You know, he's putting the carriage before the horse. And this is a situation that, I've been wrong before, and I've bet with my heart before. I've always, sometimes, when I want somebody to lose, sometimes I just want them to lose. I don't care, and I'll go with the other guy. But I'm not saying Dustin Poirier can win this fight just because I'm wanting Conor McGregor to lose. No, I'm saying this because I've watched this kid from the outset of his career, his debut in the UFC, all the way up until this point, getting ready to stop Conor, and probably 3 or 4 more fights, he's probably going to retire. I'm gonna have seen this guy whole career right in front of me. So I'm betting on Dustin Poirier because I think he's the better man at this stage of his career. One other thing, Conor McGregor, time off is his worst enemy. And the last fight that Conor McGregor had was not even a fight against Don Cerrone.
Yeah, it was definitely a one-sided affair.
Cerrone, I mean, hopefully, the check was good,
You're still with that. Yeah, I don't like when fighters look forward and past the man in front of them too much. Now, I know Conor has beaten Dustin Poirier in the past, so he might feel a bit confident going against him, but I think, Booker, and maybe I'm crazy, but I think that this fight is a pickle. I really do. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I don't really know who's going to walk out the victor. I could see it easily either way, one of these men walking out. We know Conor can beat Dustin Poirier because we've seen it before. But I'm pretty sure that Dustin Poirier can beat Conor McGregor. If you saw how he went in there against Max Holloway, and you saw how he went in there against Dan Hooker. The man's a bad, bad dude. He is a bad, bad dude. So for Conor to look past him, yeah, that's not advisable. And then Khabib's retired anyway. And Khabib said, maybe I come back if they impress me, which, I don't know how I feel about that. But Khabib's retired anyway. Don't worry about a guy who's already on the sidelines, right? A guy who said he may never fight again. You got to worry about that Louisiana boy in front of you because he's a bad dude.
Yeah. There again, man, Khabib, that's a fight, of course. But
obviously. But
to think past Dustin Poirier, it lets me know where his head is. And the thing is, of course, man, when you're a great fighter, you want everybody to look at you as a great fighter. You're gonna tell everybody, like Muhammad Ali said, man, I'm the greatest, of all time. You know what I mean? I'll beat that bum, like he stole something, whatever, and that's what Conor McGregor is. But that game is different. And from one year to the next, these guys' skill level move at a rapid pace, and the thing is, both ways, up as well as down. I mean, you could, teeter off, and next thing you know, you heading downhill as far as your skill level go. We watched, Max Holloway just this weekend, and we talked about Dustin Poirier, how he went out there and handled Max Holloway. Shows you how Dustin Poirier's skill level there again has rapidly moved up, over the years. But we saw, Max Holloway versus Cater this week, and Max Holloway's skill level looked like it hadn't dropped off that much at all. You said you thought he won that fight against Volkanovski. I did too. You know what I mean? So Max Holloway still, he's still looking to be the top dog. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I'm Booker T, 6-time world champ, along with Brad Gilmore. We got another super chat, man.
We do. Coming back from CB3, amazing again with another $4.99. We appreciate that super chat, my man. He said, one more for the book of the boat. Khabib should fight one more against Conor McGregor in a dream match. So CB3 is big on the dream match. And you know what, though? Let me ask you this. Because I don't know if you've watched any of the media that Conor's been doing to promote this fight. But he did say, in regards to this potential rematch, that the reason he feels so confident is he says that Khabib gave him the best that Khabib had to offer, and he got Conor on his worst night. Now, let's just operate under that being true. Let's just operate under the prism of that being true, that Conor was at his very worst that night. Do you think Conor McGregor, prime at the top of his skills, 100%?
Wait a minute. Repeat that question one more time. Sorry.
Okay. No, okay. So Conor said in his interview that he was doing that the first Khabib fight that he had, Khabib was at his absolute best, and he said Khabib caught Conor at his worst. At his worst. So I'm saying if Conor was at 100%, let's go under the assumption that Conor's telling the truth and he wasn't at his best. That was his worst night ever. If he is at his absolute best and Khabib is at his absolute best, do you see the result going the other way, or do you see the fight playing out in a similar fashion than that we did the first time?
Did he explain or elaborate on?
Well, he said that he was doing a lot of drinking. He wasn't taking his training camp seriously. Not the same. And he said now with the Cerrone fight and this fight, he hasn't had any alcohol. He's doing 2-a-days in the gym. He has his own octagon in his home that he's going to train in, real world training, all this, that, and the other. He said he wasn't in the mentality for the first Khabib fight.
You know, if it's the same interview you and I was, if it's the same interview you watched, I watched, where he actually is talking about he was drinking heavily.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you something. You don't stop being an alcoholic overnight. Okay? If you drinking heavily on a regular basis, that's something that's a problem first and foremost. Okay. I don't know anyone who drinks heavily and then all of a sudden they stop drinking heavily. Okay.
Perhaps.
I mean, come on, let's just be real here. Let's just keep it real here.
You can go through a phase, right? I mean, I don't drink. I've never had to drop alcohol in my life, but I'm assuming that if you're depressed of some sort, you can go through a phase, and then when you reach the end of that depression, you're out of the phase.
That's not the way alcohol is, man. I mean, you can go through a phase probably with, drugs. You know what I mean? Now, then again, once you get hooked, you're hooked.
Right, chasing the dragon.
You're chasing the dragon, but when alcohol is a taste for the devil, man. You just gotta have it. You know what I mean? You wake up with one, you go to bed with one. With breakfast, everything. I mean, that's just my opinion. Conor McGregor can say, he's going to be in better shape for this fight. He could say that he was at his worst. I mean, come on. Why would he say something like that? Why would he, give himself an out like that? That's the easy way out right there, opposed to saying that, the better man won on that fight. Now, I can almost guarantee you that Khabib is not going to be drinking. He's not going to have to worry about, changing anything and coming into the fight, and being a better person just because of the drinking. And the thing is, a lot of times, you agree with me or not, after you've done a lot of drinking over a period of time, especially of your lifetime, your body's breaking down anyway. You may not see it.
Right.
You may not think it, but it is. You know what I mean? Your liver, trust me, if you're a heavy drinker, it's not going to function like the person that doesn't drink on a regular basis.
Oh, absolutely.
And the reason I say that is because I lost my uncle at like 50 years old, and all he drank was beer all the time. He didn't drink any alcohol.
Hard stuff.
You know what I mean? Hard stuff. All he drank was beer Okay, and his liver was so bad. I mean, he died. You know what I mean? So don't think it's not working against him, whether he think it or not. You know, that's Conor McGregor's metaphor of the way things work from a training perspective. He got a problem, and come, you know, Saturday night, he's going to have a bigger problem in Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, but just to go back to it, I just want to ask say Conor gets through Dustin Poirier and Khabib sees something that impresses him or whatever his quote was regarding the only way he would come back to fight one more fight, and it is against Conor McGregor. Do you see the result being different at all?
No, I don't. I really don't.
I don't either. I don't see it's really, to be honest with you, that fight doesn't even interest me. Khabib Conor 2 doesn't even interest me.
Thing is, Conor McGregor, you know, we just talked about this. Conor McGregor is a businessman. Conor knows he can, you know, get a really, really good payday for a fight with Khabib. So I say, yeah, man, you know, I want to fight him. You know, I'm not going to run away from that fight. I'm running straight to it because Dana White said, the question was, you know, is there or have there ever been a fighter as, you know, popular and dynamic as Conor McGregor? And he said no. And you know, right now, you know, there isn't one, and you know, we're looking for one. You know, so just from Dana White saying that those words right there, it lets me know that they praise this guy. They put him on a pedestal, and they're gonna cater to him and give him everything that he wants. In a fight with Khabib, it's a great payday. So if McGregor can, you know, finagle, you know, them to actually do that, he's smart. He's very, very smart. Take nothing away from him from that aspect. But yeah, I would love to see it one more time, just because I watched, you know, Conor McGregor get put in a position. I watched him, you know, on his back, and I watched him in a, you know, from a perspective to where he was helpless, and it was nothing he could do. At one point, he actually looked at the referee and almost said, "Man, help."
He was all over that, man.
You know, so it showed me something, you know, as far as that fight go, and the way he tried to get under the skin of Khabib before the fight. It showed a character flaw as well, you know. So he lost from both perspectives.
Which, by the way, you know, no trash talk to Cowboy, no trash talk to Dustin. You know, I don't know if that's intentional or not. He seems to, after that Khabib loss, he seemed to say, well, you know, maybe that strategy doesn't work too well. You know what I mean? Maybe I shouldn't talk smack too much, because then I might give the guy extra motivation. It worked with Aldo, didn't work with Khabib, and he hasn't done it since. Do you think Conor deserves to be put on that pedestal by the UFC?
Hey man, there again, when you got a country behind you, you know, that's a lot of eyes, a lot of buy rates. You know, I think Errol, when he was, I think he asked a question, you know, why didn't he fight more in
2020?
2020, maybe it could have been a 2 million buy rates. You know, if he would have fought, you know, someone with a big name, which, you know, which is huge. Yeah, he should get everything. He should get everything he deserves, and he's earned that. So I can't sit here and say, you know, anything bad about the guy putting himself in position to get that. You know, I told you, man, I'm not a hater, man. I ain't gonna hate on the guy that get the big contract that slip on a banana peel sometimes, you know, like a Goldberg. We've talked about that.
Right.
But Conor McGregor, I wouldn't necessarily say he's, you know, slipped on a banana peel by any means. This guy's been a hell of a fighter. But when you got a country behind you, dollars make, you know, a whole lot of more sense than anything else in this world when it comes to, you know, at the end of the day. And that's what Conor McGregor brings to the table, man. A lot of eyes, a lot of buy rate, a lot of money, and the company loves, you know, people like that. I was just looking at the Running Man and Richard Dawson. You know, at one point he says, you know, I'm in love with Ben Richards. After he's killing everybody on the show, but Ben Richards, is killing all of his guys, but the ratings are up. That's the only thing that matters. I love some Ben Richards.
Yeah. No, but yeah, to a certain extent, again, I think that Connor obviously is in a good position. I'm interested to see this on Saturday if they have the same kind of crowd they had on ABC. They had about 1,000 people in there, 1,500 people, fans in the attendance, and I think that Connor's a guy who feeds off of that, and I think that fans being in attendance actually helps him more than it hurts him.
Yeah, I think so too. But fight is a fight. I don't believe in this thing.
I think so. I think it does. I think he even makes it.
El Kakui said he didn't have to fight the fans in there. And, that's what messed him up. So come on. You know what I mean? And then he come in there, get waxed out again. I don't think so, man. A fight's a fight. Your adrenaline is going to be going. Your blood's going to be pumping when it's a fight. Trust me, I've been in a fight. It might have been 20 people watching, but I'm serious. It's like going to play golf. You know what I mean? When it's nobody can be watching, but you still want to hit that perfect shot. You know what I mean? And when you do, come on, you've been there. Have you seen?
I know.
You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute. Up. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, man. But you know what I mean, man. If a crowd is not around, we're on the golf course. How animated am I? I want to hit that shot.
Right.
If I hit the long putt, oh my God. If people are around, it can make me a little bit more nervous. I can be out of my element.
But that's
just say, for instance, when you got, the hometown boy, he's fighting. Then he go out there and he doesn't perform the way he normally performs because, man, he just didn't feel, right, because too many eyes were on him. You know what I mean? So
sure. I agree with I can see all of that happening. But at the same time, better than anybody, that roar of the crowd is going to give you an extra level of adrenaline that you can't even tap into those reserves. When you hear that crowd and they're all going, Connor, you're gonna go dig down in a place you didn't even know existed, and you're gonna come back with some energy. Look, wait. Have you ever seen Rocky IV? Have you ever seen Rocky IV? If the Russians didn't start cheering for Rocky, don't tell me Rocky's a movie now. Don't tell me Rocky's a movie now. How you gonna tell a Maine that Rocky is a movie?
Cut, guys, applause guy, get over there. You know what I mean? Rocky chip. You know what I mean? Louder. Turn the speaker up. That's what look here. What I'm talking about is from a realistic perspective. From a realistic perspective, I've been in a fight before. Okay. And trust me, I did not want to lose that fight. Okay. And I'm not talking about professional wrestling or anything. I'm just talking about.
You're talking about a fist fight.
Fist fight. I'm gonna touch him up, and I'm gonna touch him up real good. All right, and hopefully nobody won't pull me off of him. That's what I'm saying. I'm serious, and I'm looking. And the thing is, I'm gonna be hypersensitive, hyper conscious. As far as the punches coming at me and whatnot as well. Just because it's like white noise. I don't hear nothing. So I don't know. Maybe it can motivate you to get you to a point to where you go out there and that 6-man effect. Push me a little bit harder. But I do honestly, truly believe when going into a fight, your adrenaline almost literally blocks everything else out at this stage of the game. I just feel that way.
Yeah. I think it can go either way. But, we've made it to the last segment of this show already, and we got to talk about Max Holloway and what went down with old Max on ABC on Saturday, because what a performance this man put in.
Yeah, man. I mean, he looks great. He still looks like the champion, actually.
He does look like the champion.
He looked dominant, precise in his punches. His footwork was unbelievable. His defense came into play throughout the whole fight, even though he took some shots. Cater actually landed some really, really good shots, but nothing that affected him. Nothing that phased him to the point to where it looked like he was wobbled or anything like that. He looked like a guy that was undefeated in the ring. And I don't know if we're talking about how good Max Holloway was on that night, or if Calvin Cater was just a mere average fighter. Let's put it out there. The biggest win in his career was, who was it? Man, it's right on my tip of my tongue. I can't think of it right now. But he haven't been in a lot of huge fights or anything like that. Who is it?
I'm looking.
Not the last fight, but the fight before that.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here. Jeremy Stevens?
Jeremy Little Heathen Stevens, yeah. That was his biggest win, I think.
Yeah.
So to get a win over Jeremy Stevens, you can't say, man, this guy's great. All right. Jeremy Stevens, tough guy, but he's a guy that's what we call an octagon warrior. At this stage of his career, Jeremy Stevens will be considered a journeyman. You know what I mean? So getting a win over Jeremy Stevens, say, man, okay, I'm okay. I'm pretty good. I may have a chance at moving to the next level. But then you jump in there with a guy like Max Holloway and you go, wait a minute. I didn't think about this level. This is something that is well above my pay rate.
Yes.
Let's rethink this. So it was definitely one side of the fair, man, and Max Holloway looked great.
I mean, he looked fantastic, and shout out to Calvin Cater for going the distance in that fight. It tells you that he's tough. Whether that was the best idea to go that full 5, I don't know, because there was a time at the end of the 4th round where, man, he was just getting touched by everything that Max Holloway was throwing. Max had him against that cage, was throwing, uppercuts to the body, punching him straight in the face with that right jab, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand.
It was ugly.
And Herb Dean was looking at him too, like, should I stop this? Should I not? And I think that his corner should have stepped in at some point and said, hey man, look, you can't even win on the scorecards. Let's live to fight another day on this one. This guy came to fight tonight, and he's just above your pay grade, like you said. Let's just stop this one here.
You should have had to the what?
The understanding, wherewithal, and know-how to step in and just stop it. Because it really got bad. It got bad.
He should have just did his job.
He should have did his
job. Did something, but that's the fight game, man.
Don't you think it should have stopped there, like somewhere in that 4th round?
No, I really thought the fight could have been stopped a couple of times, and
yeah.
But that's the fight game, man. Herb Dean, he's been on the opposite end of stopping the fight when perhaps
too quick.
And it wasn't, and you don't want to be in one of those controversial moments. You definitely want to think that the corner would, have the compassion to see a fighter there again, well behind on the scorecards, cannot win only by knockout if he slip on a banana peel and land a shot, and it don't look like that's going to happen in no way, shape, or form, and you let him still go out. And I put that on the corner right there.
I do too.
It
100%.
was a dereliction of duty for the corner to continue to let that man go out and continue to get beat like that. Those guys, I don't know if they're just thinking about their pockets or what. But when I see something like that, and a guy don't start throwing the towel, thank God for guys like Mark Breland.
Yes, that's exactly who I was thinking about.
Deontay Wilder, you know what I mean? Because that's what a corner man that care about you would do. Like Mark Breland, he would throw that towel in. And you know why? That guy like Mark Breland is going to throw that towel in because Mark Breland is a former world champion. He's been in that same position that you're in right now, and he knows exactly what it feels like. That's why he would throw that towel in. It's a lot different than a lot of those guys in those corners telling those guys what to do.
So let me ask you this. Max Holloway obviously was on a different level that night. And do you think that now we should get that third fight against Volkanovski?
It's warranted. It's warranted, yeah. But I'm just not a fan of throwing a guy to the wolves just because. I'm just not a fan of it. My thing is, Max Holloway lose, and then, Max Holloway lose again, and then come back and beat somebody like Cater, and then you say next time, give him a title shot. He's back. Nah, I don't believe in that. Me being the champion. I got a 5-fight deal, and right now he's number 5.
I hear you.
That's the way I would look at it.
I hear you.
What I mean? Because the first and foremost,
you're trying to get that, man.
I'm trying to get some money, man. I'm trying to make some money here.
I hear you.
I got Polaroids I got to take with this title. I got cons I got to go to. I got all kind of stuff.
Polaroids.
Bro, the Polaroid game was huge back in the day, dog. You couldn't wait to get the title.
Oh, that's what you did before OnlyFans?
Man, I'm serious, man. Polaroids, man. I made so much money. I used to keep a box of Polaroids and the camera in my bag.
Oh, hilarious.
I mean, that's $10 a shot. I'm serious, bro. Trying to tell you, man.
I hear you. I feel you.
Talk, man. It's real talk. But man, we got to get ready to get up out of here, man. Well, thank you guys for sticking out with us here in the Hall of Fame today, man. We had some fun. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff I'm sure going to buzz the internet. Get everybody talking. But there again, man, I think everything I said today was appropriate.
I do too.
Just cause. But again, man, appreciate you guys. Bradley, appreciate you. That last comment there, Booker T, the effing legend. I'm just saying. Hey, y'all, we'll see y'all in a couple of days. We up out of here. Shup!